Hey guys, JC the Sniper coming to you again, this time with another knife review, and this time I've got the SOG Flash 2. I doubt you can read that on the blade, but it is labeled SOG Flash 2 right there. And this knife is kind of cool. Not my favorite, but it is a good knife, and I'll talk a little bit about it. This one, incidentally, is not mine. This belongs to a friend. So, anyway, I'll just jump right in here. First of all, philosophy of use. This is probably an EDC blade, pretty much. Maybe a tactical folder, although I wouldn't use it for that. Some people probably would, and it would probably be serviceable for that. But generally I'm going to think this is probably an EDC blade. The blade length is 3.5 inches. Overall length is 8 inches, however. So there is a lot of handle in comparison with blade. But that also gives you a better ability to grip the handle if you were going to use it for something tactical. The weight is 3.1 ounces, which is really good for a knife of this size. It's very, very light, and that comes from the Zytel construction of the body. And the blade is an AUS 8 steel. So that's a decent steel. I've liked AUS 8 in some of my other knives I've talked about, including the CRKT M16. Which you may have seen me review previously if you've watched my videos for very long, and some others, but I'm a reasonable fan of the AUS 8 steel. So anyway, this is a light knife. 3.1 ounces is really light for a knife of this size, of an 8-inch overall knife. So the weight is good, and generally I'm a fan of a handle that's closer in size with the blade, but I don't think it's a problem. So, you know, I don't know. The AUS 8 steel tends to hold an edge pretty well. This came really sharp, like all SOG products do, and it's been used really hard. If you could see, you can't see the edge well on my camera because it's not that great, but if you could, you would see there's a lot of it's seen a lot of heavy use. It's been used probably for things it shouldn't have been used for, I would guess, seeing the edge of this blade. But the dude who owns it works on a farm and probably doesn't care too much about his knife, because he you know, he probably didn't worry too much about tearing up the blade, chopping on something or whatever, picking the hooves of a cow or something with it, I don't know. But anyway, it's seen some heavy use, and the blade is held up pretty well. As you can see, there's no rust on it, so the blade has held its finish pretty well, and it's got that satin finish, which is nice. It looks pretty cool. And along with the steel is the blade shape, which I'm actually a fan of. You know, it's not real fancy looking, it's just a simple, you know, drop point. And it has a decent amount of belly here for, you know, cutting and slicing stuff, and still a pretty good point, but also a strong point. So I like that. And also, it has a full flat grind, which I really like. I like full flat ground blades. I wish I had the Kershaw Oso with the full flat ground blade. Instead I've got the 3/4 hollow grind. But, you know, I'm just a fan of that grind of blade. I think the flat ground looks cool, and it also slices well, and I think they're easier to sharpen in most cases. Speed of deployment is really good on this knife because it's pretty well balanced, but also it has the SAT technology, or SOG assisted technology, as SOG calls it, which deploys it. So it's an assisted open knife. Really, the assisted open isn't that fast. I mean, if you flip it open, it opens quickly because you've got your thumb pressure plus the assisted open. But if you just open it to the point where the assisted open takes over, it's not that quick. in comparison with my OSO, it's actually really slow, because this thing just comes out a whole lot quicker with just a push of that button. So the Kershaw OSO is a lot faster deploying. However, you know, it's not slow by any means, and if you give it a little flip, it comes out really quickly. So deployment speed is good. Lockup and strength. It locks up tight. This one, as I said, has seen a lot of use, so it's actually, there's a little bit of up and down wiggle there, and there's some side to side wiggle as well. However, it's adjustable, and I'm pretty sure if we adjusted that, that would take care of the problem. So, you know, but just let it be noted that it has developed a little bit of a wiggle over time. Not a bad one, but just a little bit. You probably can't, well, maybe you can see it a little bit, but a little bit of a wiggle, not bad. And for the use that it's seen, it's held up well. And the strength of the lockup is really good. This has the piston lock design. You'd think it's almost like an axis lock with the way this locker is, but it's something SOG calls the piston lock. So basically it's just, I mean, it's what it sounds like. There's a piston that rides in here and it clicks forward. And you can see it move down in there. As I pull back on this button, you can see that little piston moving down there. So, piston lock design. And it's fairly sturdy lockup design. So, that's not a problem. Handle material is Zytel. Which is the same as FRN, you know, all that stuff. It's fiberglass reinforced nylon, it's glass reinforced nylon, it's a plastic handle with fiberglass in it, essentially. And it's a very, very sturdy material. Same sort of material that the handle of my bird Caracara is made out of, at least this one. The G10 one clearly isn't. Also, the same material is used in the handle of my M16 and Kershaw OSO and the Buck Bantam as well. So all these knives have that FRN handle, and you know, as you can see, I've had a pretty good amount of experience with it, and it tends to hold up well, I think. I've never had a problem with FRN, and I think with good texturing you can get really good grip on it. And this one does have pretty good gripping texture on the sides, at least. The top is kind of a miss, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Ergonomics. The ergonomics of this thing, in my opinion, are terrible. I just don't like it. I mean, if you look at this, it's hard for me to imagine where they intended that you grip this. There's two little finger dents here, which I can only imagine means I put these two fingers here. But if I do that, they just don't lay in there naturally. Like, it just doesn't feel right. And if I choke back here, I don't know. This leaves me feeling like I have no control of the blade, because the blade's that far away. Which, you know, if I were stabbing somebody, wouldn't be a problem. But if I'm trying to do something like working with the knife, that is a problem, because it isolates me from the blade. And this one just isn't deep enough to give me any control up here. I feel like I'd like to choke up this far on it. But if I do that, I'll cut myself. But, you know, that's something that if I'm using one of my bird Caracaras, I can choke all the way up here. I've got this great well jimped thumb ramp on the back of the blade and a finger choil, which is also jimped up here, and I'm right up there on the blade to control it and get real precise control. Or I can choke back here and use it here, or I can choke back even further if I'd like to. You know, and this just feels nice in my hand. Same thing with the Kershaw OSO Suite. This knife just feels really good in your hand. And those finger choils lay right in there, and it fits my palm nicely, and I feel like this gives me a good positive grip and good control. I just don't get that with the SOG Flash 2. I just don't like the way it grips. And along with that is the fact that the entire top surface of this is smooth, except for these tiny little bumps here, which you can barely feel. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're non-existent. Doesn't give you any extra grip at all. They're pointless. I don't even know why they put them on there. I mean, they might as well have made them work or just left them out. So, I think those are kind of stupid. But that's just my opinion. The texturing on the sides is good. It gives me a reasonable amount of grip. Not as much as my FRN handled Cara does. I like the grip surface on this better than I do on this, but it's decent. It's pretty close to the Oso, honestly. I think the gripping qualities are pretty close on these two. However, this one's got a better designed handle shape, so I can grip this better than I can grip this, really. And this just, I feel, even just holding it here, I feel like my hand has got to be in an odd position, and it's almost fatiguing my hand just to hold this, because of the way I've got to cramp my hand. Whereas something like this, I don't feel that. This just holds nicely and naturally. You know, same thing once again with the Cara. All these other knives. My CRKT even holds much better, and it's just a straight, you know, well, almost straight handle design. So, I really think they missed badly with that one. I just hate it. I don't like that handle at all. I like the one on the SOG Trident much better, and I'm really not a fan of the Trident either, but I like the handle much better on that than I do on this. Clip design, as with all of these knives, is really, really nice. So ergonomically that works well. It doesn't really interfere with your grip, but the grip is crappy anyway, so. But I like these clips, because as you can see, they protrude out from the tip, and this rides really, really deep in your pocket. So that's all you see on the outside of the pocket. You don't see any of the knife. And I like that a lot. The clip is reversible, so you can do left or right hand carry. You're stuck with tip down because of the nature of the design of this clip. Or tip up, rather. You're stuck with tip up. But I like tip up anyway, so this is how I would carry it, because it just puts you in position when you draw it, snap the knife open. So that's how I'd want to carry it. And I like that. And so for clip design, that clip basically beats, well, that clip does beat all these other clip knives that I have out here. None of these have a clip that's that well designed. They all ride higher in your pocket. So I like the clip on this better. And that's one thing that SOG does really well on a lot of their knives. The other thing that I didn't mention, well, this is, you know, this isn't difficult to use at all, so that's fine. There is a lock on this, which locks the blade. As you can see, it will not open now. You gotta flip that back to open it. I don't care for these. I think they're stupid, because really, if your knife, for the flipper to deploy, the knife has to open to here. So if your knife in your pocket comes open to there, you know, you're screwed anyway, because you're going to reach in there and cut yourself if it's only that far open. And honestly, in a pocket, how much further could it open? I mean, maybe it could go like that, but it's not like, you know, I feel like, first of all, you'd notice if that went bam and just sprang open in your pocket. And second of all, if any of these other knives does that, I mean, if this knife fell open that far, I'm going to cut the crap out of myself. And, you know, it just doesn't, I just don't think it makes sense to put a lock on it just because it has an assisted open, because it's really not going to make any difference. So I would glue that back personally, and I wish they would take it off. But overall, this knife is going to be really durable. And I'm going to have to cut here and go to a part 2 because I'm running out of time. So we'll cut and be back shortly.